Okay, we are back. For those that we just restart the video, we at the very beginning, the Pledge of Allegiance, moment of silence was on the tail end of our tax rate hearing, but we'll go ahead and proceed with the meeting now. So, going a little bit out of order, we just need the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Casey.
Like,
Is that Cliff?
yeah.
Cliff, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. And we'll jump into any public comments on agenda items. Anybody? No takers. We'll move on to correspondence to the board. Got a note here to our partners at Mount Master Schools. Thank you for your recent investment in JCEDC. Longtime partners like you help us continue our daily mission to grow Johnson County and all its communities. Your time, expertise, and unwavering leadership are so incredibly valuable. We appreciate you, the Johnson County Economic Development Corporation board staff. Pass that around here. Appreciate the kind words.
I do want to say this will be the first year that we will join Johnson County EDC. Warrensburg School District has historically been a member, and just as a reminder, they were instrumental in helping facilitate that look around the CARES flow-through money last year. So they outreached to districts and really proved a lot of work, but also they're a great partner for trying to grow our economy and attract businesses.
We'll move into the reports and presentations. We have recognitions.
So no recognitions for this evening. We did have it on the agenda, but we pushed that back.
Next on the agenda is the principal and director reports. There are several reports there as presented. Any questions, comments from any board member on these reports? With no comments, we will move on to the MSBA report. Watch a short video clip here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association Board Report for the month of August. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at efforts to provide greater internet access to students throughout Missouri. Currently, about 23% of Missouri students lack internet access at home, while 84 school districts report students lack physical access to broadband. The Director of Broadband Development for the state of Missouri, Tim Arbeiter, told an audience at MSBA's recent Igniting Great Ideas Summit, both infrastructure and affordability are barriers to access for many students and families. Arbeiter said school boards can play an important role in improving internet access by partnering with others in their community.
But sometimes, as leaders, we just need to take the bull by the horns and say, what do we need to do to come alongside maybe our city manager, our presiding commissioner, and a few other folks to help maybe strategize as a team, how do we motivate and incentivize and attract for that? Because there are areas in our states where there is none or only one provider, and it makes it an extreme challenge.
Arbeiter says there are a number of state and federal programs now in place aimed at expanding broadband access in Missouri. Applications are opening this month for grants aimed at addressing the teacher shortage in Missouri. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has designated more than $50 million in coronavirus relief funds to establish teacher recruitment and retention grants for school districts. The goals of the grants include attracting more people to the teaching profession and providing greater support for current teachers to improve retention. DESE Assistant Commissioner Paul Patnick tells us he hopes many of the grants will be used to expand what are known as Grow Your Own programs aimed at encouraging high school students to become teachers.
Future Missouri's teachers are sitting in Missouri school districts right now. That's where they're going to come from. And we've talked to way too many high school kids in school districts who never considered the teaching profession because no one asked them if they would ever consider it. No one has said to a student, you would be a great teacher. I mean, love math, you're good at it, you'd be a great math teacher. And we're not talking about valedictorian straight A students. Sometimes students that work hard in school make great teachers. And we as a profession have to think some succession planning here about furthering the profession after we're done.
Patnick says recruiting and retaining teachers must be a community effort.
It's not just a teacher who agreed to run some club. It's a community effort because when a school can't find teachers, and we had examples of that this year where schools went virtual because they didn't have enough teachers, that impacts the whole community. So everybody in the community ought to care about this issue and band together and support it. That's when it works at its best. That's what we've seen in districts with long-running programs. The entire community embraces it, and I just think school board members have such an important role in making it a priority, supporting superintendent and the school personnel, and making it happen, making it work.
Patnick says Missouri's teacher shortage has only become worse during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that he has yet to talk to a school district leader who isn't facing future vacancies heading into the new school year. Registration is now open for the 2021 MSBA Annual Conference in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators to be held November 5th through 7th in Kansas City. The event will once again feature numerous breakout sessions and workshops, many presented by school leaders from districts throughout the state, along with a great lineup of general session speakers, all in a new location at the Kansas City Convention Center. Among the general session speakers this year is Gene Becker, a Missouri Public School graduate who served as President George H.W. Bush's chief of staff from the time he left office until his death in 2018. And don't forget the 2021 Safe Schools and Colleges Forum, sponsored by MSBA Center for Education Safety, that will be held this year on November 4th in conjunction with the annual conference in Kansas City. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
So just to echo part of the end of that message, if there's any board member that wants to attend the MSBA conference in November, need to let Debbie know so she can kind of make some reservations and get things taken care of for you. So if there's any interest whatsoever, just give it a set you straight. Next, we'll move on to the superintendent report.
All right, well, again, welcome everyone. Welcome to our board members that came in a couple minutes late. I tried to send you guys reminders, but I know you're busy working. So, Crush Flag, welcome. I think, is that who we have over? Okay. I'm getting old, my eyes don't work, and the masks aren't helping, so.
Lieutenant Scott Albertson and Russ Hackett.
Welcome, sir. Well, apologize. Glad to have you here. You came in for the fun of the tax rate and our annual meeting, so just remember in August, don't draw the short straw. Jokes aside, welcome. Just to kind of follow up on the MSBA video, I want to talk specifically about that teacher recruitment, retention, and shortage. That is really jumping up into a top priority for us here in the district. It's always been important, but it's something that Mr. Coy and I have talked about far more in the last year, and more specifically in the last several months. To start this year, we had 5 of our teachers and employees on critical shortage, which means that we were not able to secure a qualified candidate through the application process. So we're bringing back retirees to fill some of those spaces. Part of that is because of the applicant pool, part of that is because of the timing, with some added sections because of enrollment over the late summer. But it's a real issue, and the district we've seen our position strengthen over the last couple of years. We feel like with our applicant pools and what we've been able to hire, we don't get it right 100% of the time, but we've been getting it right most of the time. And we're seeing those candidates that we to choose from strengthen in almost all areas. We've had some anomalies. We continue to see challenges in our science and math and some of the advanced high school courses, of course, foreign language, some of the career tech often show challenges. And then, coaching is a high-demand job, which also presents some challenges. But we've seen at the elementary levels that at least our candidate pool strengthen. But we're seeing that pinch, and we've talked about trying to develop a more comprehensive strategy. We've worked on our salaries on both sides of the master schedule. That has really helped with our recruitment and retention. Our academic performance helps make us a destination of choice. Great leadership, sitting back here helps. But we recognize the need to continue to work on our strategy. With that said, you may look for the money that they mentioned in the video is a small amount of money. I think it's $10,000 or $20,000 that we can access one time. So that's on my desk to submit an application. But that will be a short time, very room. But we need to incorporate more of the tuition reimbursement. We've talked about that in some areas, and then as a reminder, from the last couple of months, we're working on that big federal policy that would qualify all of our teachers for that student loan forgiveness. But really kind of think about what you may think will work. If you have any thoughts or ideas, I'll tell you, hiring local, especially in our leadership ranks, to the extent possible, has proven to be very valuable because good teachers work well with their leaders, and we're hoping to see that continue to play out as we welcome this new administration. So just wanted to throw that out there. As of this memo, we have three days of the new school year in the books. They've been doozies for sure. The full moon and the 100-degree weather has definitely had us on our toes, but overall it's been very smooth. First day busing, if you heard anything about it, first day busing is always interesting. The kids act like they've never seen a school bus before, and some of the drivers and the teachers do as well. So first day was a little rough this year. Second day was very smooth with some interventions, and today ran like a clock with our early release for the most part. So things are going well. Teachers are excited. Our back-to-school convocations, thank you to President Bolden and Mrs. Davis for coming in to speak. Those went really well, and I think my takeaway from that was a very positive, upbeat tone from our employees. I felt good about that. They're always upbeat and positive, with the exception of last year with COVID, but this one felt a little extra special. So that was a good way to start the year, and our teachers will really come back ready to get down to business. As far as the COVID Delta variant, you guys, I won't kick a dead horse on that. We'll talk about that a little bit further in the agenda, but so far, it's gone very well. Our plan that's been executed has not, I think I had 2 phone calls last year. So far, we've had no phone calls, no concerns on that. I will tell you, we are seeing, I received a report today that some of our students are not masking on our school buses, which is a CDC mandate. We will be addressing that and reinforcing that. That's right now definitely an area that presents an elevated risk, and it's important for them to mask up. And our plan calls for us to be to enforce that mandate. And that's the only area where I would say that we may get some rub. But so far, our cases are not as high as I anticipated they would be at this point. I think the next 14 days are going to be critical. if we can get to Labor Day healthy without a major spike, then I think we've at least cleared one major hurdle. So I'll keep you reported. As a reminder, we're reporting all of our COVID cases on our website, and our nurses are coordinating the process here with any symptom signs and quarantines or positive cases. Also included in the agenda is our ESSER 3 plan, which was submitted, so we'll talk about that briefly. That's roughly 1.7 million, 1.8 million in ESSER 3 funds, and the plan presented calls for a drawdown of all of those funds in this fiscal year, so we'll look forward to that. We still have our FY21 fiscal audit coming up, so we'll continue to work on that. It's slated for mid-September. We look forward to another productive audit focused on improving our management processes. Summer projects are wrapping up pretty well. We have some lingering issues with our HVAC, but we are working with the general contractor and subs to try to get this substantially completed. Once that's done, we'll conduct a walkthrough and punch list to make sure that we do our due diligence on the final product. We're going to do that probably with an independent certified technician, so we get an independent professional opinion on the things that we need to know. If anybody has any input on that, I would definitely retain that input. Parking lot project out of Whiteman turned out nice. We're glad to see that done. That did end up including an underground drainage from a low point on the south side of the front entrance. So that went well, and the Whiteman team was excited to finally have that in the books. Also, lots of parking and remodel projects throughout the district. Those all went well, and have a nice new build out for special services department from Ms. Hawker. The only thing we didn't get put in there was a picture window for your oceanfront view, but we'll try to work on that for next year. So the same it is. If any of you would like to view any of the projects, please let us know. You're welcome in our schools anytime, and I know our principals would be happy to do a walkthrough if you'd like to take a peek. If you want to view the HVAC, I'd suggest that you wait a little bit longer until it cools off because it is a scorcher outside. Moving on to attendance, I'll just submit these as listed. One point that I want to emphasize is this district total. We did expand Little Weeman this year to include an additional section of preschool. Meanwhile, our title pre-K and ECSE numbers are down about 15 students from the last couple of years, but we're approaching 1,900 students. So we're definitely seeing a growth trend in our enrollment for first day, and we have that comparative data later in the presentation. For July 20th, ending balances for July 2021 are all funds balances $22,803,909. Revenues to date $1,022,404, which is 4.5% anticipated. Expenditures $833,651, which is 4%. We do have several big items included in the bills this month. So we have bus purchases, as well as an initial payment on the HVAC project. Just wanted to point those out. Those were late ads. We got notified of those after the initial publication of the agenda, and then I sent notice out to the board with a follow-up on that. For upcoming activities, tomorrow we'll be traveling over to Jefferson City for the retirement of Missouri's military advocate, Joe Driscoll. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler. Any questions, comments about the report as presented?
That's awesome. Numbers in the district.
It's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
So,
That you got to keep in mind the preschool program will probably maybe approaching half of the demand. So if we can create or find more space, there's definitely a demand and a really good value proposition there to be recognized.
If you look at the overall numbers compared to when they got on the board, what was 6 years ago, the enrollments without the Little Women program and without the preschool program, we're still at a 20% increase. And if you include those two programs, we're at over 30%. So that's just unbelievable compared to where we were 6 and 7 years ago. I mean, that's something to be proud of.
It's, our goal is to be a destination of choice, and I think if we can create more hot rooftops, we'll fill them with non-restaurant residents. Thank you.
Okay, we'll, progress in the meeting to the consent agenda. Is there any questions, comments about any of the items under the consent agenda?
I'd like to, congratulate the school bus maintenance guys and gals. That's something my dad, Mr. Bolton's dad, and Mr. Everett's dad spent a lot of hours with the buses. And, to see that's being maintained is pretty nice. So, congratulations to those guys.
Thank you.
I'd like to second that.
It's a good team. Scott Sater does a nice job and frankly, it's a team effort. But he does a nice job. Katie Hensman is doing a fantastic job in the role. And of course, Dean is there supporting everybody as well. But it's a good team, and I tell you what, I say this all the time, but great bus drivers are hard to come by. So if you hear or know anyone that you think would be a good job, please send them my way. But it's a great department doing great things right now.
I'd like to also, put a big thank you out there for, Katie running that program. I think it was a hugely successful under her direction, and, Katie did a great job.
I'm glad you guys weren't here on Monday afternoon because it was not reflective of the job they're doing, but that's kind of part of the course. But yeah, they're Tuesday, like I said, it was almost like a tie. So yeah, we're lucky, very lucky. I'll tell you what, we were working, just not to belabor that, but we were working with Crestridge on shuttling over J-ROTC students and talked with their superintendent, and they said their route cost for that was something like $35,000. Our route cost would have been closer to like 15, so they would almost have to pay triple for that trip over from Crestridge to here for 170 days. So it's I know the board several years ago, before many of you guys, worked very hard to keep that in house when almost everybody else goes outsourced. When that was a very, very good thing. Same goes with food service. So thank you.
And we're also lucky we have so many wonderful employees that actually, when I hired as bus drivers, they stepped up and done those duties, and thanks for that.
Thank you guys again for calling that out.
There's no more questions, comments. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Paul Hills.
Second.
Grant seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we will move on to new business. With the first item is the approval of bills. Full board. Are there any questions, comments of any of the bills as presented?
Again, I'll point out that that email was sent to everybody with adding the payment for the 2 buses. That purchase was approved prior by the board. Also, that first draw on the HVAC project. So I want to make sure you guys were aware of those.
Second round, questions, comments? With no comments, we entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Thank you, Kelly.
I'll second the motion.
Paul Hills, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is the approval of bills requiring abstentions. Couple of bills there presented. Questions, comments? There's no comments, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills requiring extension as presented.
Thank you, Paul Hills. Paul Birchie seconds. All in favor say aye. Nays? And 2 abstentions, so motion carries 5-0-2. Next item on the agenda is a historical enrollment.
This is just the new historical data process that we introduced last year. So we visit this at the end of each quarter, first day of school, end of each quarter, and then at the end of summer school. It gives you kind of a 8-year comparison. And that's where you can kind of see the growth by building, and then the overall growth of what we're seeing in the district. So again, 14-15 school year, we were at 1431 on that first day of school. This year we're at 1725. So definitely seeing some growth there. This is the number over here, Little Heman, that we definitely want to continue to see grow, hopefully double in the years ahead. And we'd like to see this number continue to grow up. And then again, the rest of this, we just we'll do this by quarters. Information only, no action needed.
Had several comments earlier. Any additional comments on enrollment?
One question I have is, based on the increase with what we've seen, and not all our kids are military affiliated, but on the impact aid side, how much money would you attribute that increase to? The enrollment increase. So say it's 350 kids, and if you can figure out that 2/3 of that is the military, I mean, what kind of money are we looking at as far as revenue stream on
Impact aid and state.
Yes.
What do you say, 350?
I'm assuming we're talking millions of dollars.
Yes, but not what my calculator is, but I'm just saying. So at 350 kids, you're looking at roughly 3.7 million total state and impact aid. Assuming that's probably a little high. That would be assuming a full calculation if they were on base. So let me, it's probably going to be more apt to be about 2.8 would be my guess. So it's
Huge amount of money to shop.
well, it's been good right now. Remember that we educate for 3 years and then we get paid in arrears, so there's some additional expenditures associated with that, but then that will catch up. I will tell you, we with this growth, we will see ongoing increases in revenue. The other thing that's been nice is, for the most part, we've been able to accommodate that growth in our current facilities, but that's not occurred without some growing pains. But we're definitely getting to a point where we're going to have to find some new space. But it's the impact aid and what we receive from our state aid is it's solid for sure. That was some fuzzy math, so don't quote me on that, but that would be a pretty solid guess.
Thank you for that overview. With that, we'll revisit that in the future. So continue to build on that throughout the year. Moving on to action item for setting the tax rate for 2021. We had the hearing early that just went a few minutes over. Kind of answered a lot of the questions. Presentations are there. Any questions, comments on the tax rate, setting the tax rate at $3.41, $341.83. With that, no questions, comments. We need a motion to approve the 2021 school tax rate as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 school tax rate as presented.
Thank you. Paul Hills made the motion. Cliff Evers, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Next item under new business is the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, or better known as SO3 plan.
Not a lot of exciting info to share here. Let me see if this was a little better to read. This is just the plan that was submitted. Again, this was a plan that was modified from a plan that was developed between March of 2020 and August of 2020. So this is really a safe return to school plan that we first implemented last year. It's been modified over the course of the last 18 months with input from board, administration, teachers, parents, students, and other stakeholders. It does meet all criteria for ESSER 3. It has been submitted to DESE. We're waiting approval. We typically, how that works, if DESE has any modifications or requests, they will let us know, or they will substantially approve. I actually haven't checked back in on the plan in the last couple of days to see if it was approved, but it was laid out with the guidance given to let us know how we plan to utilize those ESSER 3 funds. Again, those funds can be drawn down over several fiscal years, but in working with our district office team, we align this plan for a full draw down of those funds for this school year. If you're interested, feel free to read through. If you have any input on that, additional input that you haven't provided over the last 18 months, please let us know. We will do a final drawdown of ESSER 2 funds. We did get notice to proceed with that here last month, so we'll draw those down by September 30, and then we'll be eligible to begin drawing these funds down once they're released.
Questions, comments? If there's no other issues, we need a motion to approve this item.
Make a motion to approve the ESSER 3 plan as presented.
Thank you, Grant.
Second.
Kelly seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Next item under new business is a policy review of the student fundraising. Attached on here is a policy that we have adopted. You kind of see that it is a rather dated policy, but nonetheless, it's our policy that we have in effect. So, we also have presented a memo regarding call for data points from the audit and asking for those clubs and things that are affiliated. So, giving a brief overview here. No action items tonight. But, you want to add anything to this?
The main thing the reason it's on the agenda, I talked with President Bolton and related to the audit is requesting this year some new information. So wanting to know essentially what the, just kind of a checks and balances on the affiliate organizations on making sure that the district maintains an arm's length, but also making sure that we can qualify any donations that may have come to the district or our students from what typically are not-for-profit organizations. The things that I want to point out are these student-initiated group fundraisers and outside groups are not, that those activities, should not occur during the school day. And the other thing is just making sure it's essential with the board and our staff know that the district staff not confuse district-sponsored fundraising with fundraising conducted by booster clubs or other groups not directly controlled by the district. So I and our team in the district do not have any fiscal responsibility over those outside clubs. We try to keep those arm's length. and try to do a good faith effort of that. I think this audit of going through with the auditor this year is going to help us do a little long-standing house cleaning that might be a little bit overdue with some outside organizations. Also, the known outside organizations for the district that we have identified, we have KNEST, Navajos Educational Savings Trust, Candy PTO, Whiteman's PTO, we have the Navajos Band Boosters, we have the Navajos Robotics Boosters, there's a Navajos Cultural and Language Learners. That's that club that kind of facilitates that international travel. And then new this year, that won't be in the audit this year, is the Navajos Touchdown Club. But we will incorporate that into the carry-away guidance received from our audit. And again, the district and its personnel do not hold any responsibilities for these organizations, but it's important to account and make sure we maintain that honesty and awareness. This is a memo that went out from the TD Club, went to the TD Club. We did discover that they were using, for instance, school address for their club. We corrected that. Frankly, they're not the only one that's done that in recent years, so in not so recent years. So like I said, we're going through the audit and kind of showing up some of those issues.
Any questions, comments from the board?
To be specific, we do not want an employee directly raising funds through or managing those. We do set those up on these affiliate clubs through a board of directors. Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
So we'll move into old business and start with the 2021 Safe Return instruction. So several files there attached. I'm going to give some highlights. Yes, sir.
This is, again, this is the required plan, this continuity, safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan. A lot of schools, it finally hit me, a lot of schools are just now where we were a year ago. So this plan is modified, and in July, I think, or June, I talked to the board. We were in a really good place with our COVID count. I thought we were through it, and now we're seeing this variant. So it's still a challenge. The main thing that I want to point out here for the board is the kind of our ongoing position as a board on this endorsing recommendations versus enforcing public health orders and mandates. Our position as a board has been that we will enforce any public health orders and mandates, and we will endorse the recommendations from the responsible health agencies of authority, which would be CDC, the Department of Health and Senior Services, Johnson County Community Health Agency, or in our case, Public Health on base. So this enforcement and endorsement kind of 1-2 punch has kept the district in compliance, but has also exercised maximum choice for our parents. Masking has been an ongoing hot button for everyone. As of right now, the two mandates that we have are CDC mandate that masks have to be worn on school buses because they're public transportation, and then Public Health on base as required that we wear masks on base for all on-base activities. Outside of that, we are endorsing a variety of recommendations from a variety of agencies, and kind of passing that endorsement on to our parents to provide them the choice on those items. So far it's working. I do think these first 2 weeks of school present an elevated risk, but we got to take that in with some common sense. Schools are not the only place where kids and adults are being exposed. There is a broad spectrum. If you look through our communities, the fair, the Dark Brooks concert, there's exposure in many elements of life, and making the school the only overly restricted place is That is a little bit of a illogical formula. And what we want to do is, again, provide that choice, provide the tiered level of safeguards that we provided last year, but not make schools the only overly restricted place in a kid's or adult's life. With that plan has worked well. Again, I've received no direct concerns or complaints in our first few days back. I do expect that I will get some of those when we follow up on this bus issue. But that's, again, our position has been to endorse recommendations, enforce mandates, and right now masks are mandated on our school buses. So that's kind of where we are on that. There's a variety of other requirements in here that were required for this plan, including all the way through a full shutdown. We continue to remind our employees that responsible choices by them will be the key to our ongoing operation, and that the main threat of shutdown will be the inability for us to properly staff our classrooms. So fingers crossed on what happens in the next 2 weeks. My prediction is that there will be very few quarantines on high school football teams this year.
Any questions with the plan as presented? As such, in order for us to move on, we need a motion to approve this.
I have one question, I'm sorry. Dr. Miller, what kind of recourse do you have for the bus?
Well, my plan is to exercise goodwill. Our parents have been awesome for 18 months. We're going to ask if they'll cooperate a little bit further. And the other consequence, if there's outright refusal, then we'll have to have that conversation about restricting them from the bus. I'm hopeful that our parents will work with us. I get it. It's been hot. We sat out there for over a half hour on the first day as we sorted out some issues, which are, again, not uncommon for the first day, but I get it. I think most of our parents will be reasonable. I think some will challenge that, and that's where we're going to try to come together. If you do get any calls, please ask if they've talked to their the chain of command, because it's easy to jump to board members, but try to please send them back to us so that we can talk to those parents and try to work through that issue. I think we're going to know a lot in the next 2 weeks, so I'm anxious to see where we're at by next board meeting.
Thank you.
The other thing I didn't mention is if you guys are following, the Attorney General has filed a lawsuit, a reverse class action lawsuit, which basically will eventually, it's against Columbia schools, but it's a reverse class action that will affect all public schools of the state, bringing a lawsuit for any mask mandates that are in place. So that's something that I think is fresh as of yesterday afternoon, and as of right now, our attorneys say no changes are recommended, but it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And then I'll communicate. I think we'll be exempt with our mandate on White Air Force Base. I think the federal jurisdiction would supersede that, is my expectation, but it might impact the ruling on public transportation, maybe, but I think it is definitely going to impact public perception. I think the more of those we see, it's the more we're not going to do it, and let's argue about this. So again, I'm going to try to lean on the goodwill of our parents who work with us.
Yeah, our bus line, our car rider line grew exponentially this year, instead of people taking the bus.
We saw that last year. It's actually seems pretty normal this year. We had that bus route at Whiteland, and I think we've seen an increase out there. So I think people want to get back to normal, and they made their own assessments on those.
Have we seen any moves from Whiteland to Hayward?
So we had a handful of requests, actually back and forth, but we let parents know that we were not going to honor those at this time. There was just a lot of risk. frankly, I think we would have seen, if we had opened that up, based on observations, I think we would have seen a large number of Whiteman parents requesting to move to Candy, which we just don't have a space. So we're sticking with our position as of right now.
Thank you.
Keep saying hers, please.
With that, we need a motion to approve this. It's the will of the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the old business as presented.
So we need a specific motion to approve the 2021 safe return.
I'll make a specific amendment to correction.
Read that line there.
I make the
Or
motion
okay.
to approve 21-22 safe return to in-person instruction and continuing service plan as presented.
Thank you, Kelly.
Second.
Cliff, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is to clean up the handbooks, get them, that we missed, last month. And, we got, 4 handbooks presented there. Any questions, comments of the handbooks as presented? Do you have any comments?
I knew the KMS only had changes to the administration and teachers. I just missed that detail, but that's why I did not include that. And I think we have the high school waiting some amendments, but generally the changes are highlighted for you. And I think the biggest change that the board will probably hear about is not in the handbook, but the movement of pantry hours at the end of the day. That's been I think a great first move for our new principal, Mrs. Brown. I've heard a lot of positive comments about that, and appreciate the leadership on that. That's been an ongoing conversation for us.
It is,
Well, it says for
I think it should be.
will be slightly,
Sorry about that, guys.
will be in a minute. With that, we need a motion to approve employee handbooks as presented.
Make a motion to approve, employee handbooks as presented for the 21-22 school year.
Thank you, Paul Furchie.
Second.
Grant, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. With that, that concludes our open session. We will need a motion to adjourn to executive session, and
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.21, 1, 2, and 3 by roll call vote.
thank you, Casey, for making the motion. Cliff, seconds. Roll call vote, start with Hildy.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. I want to thank everyone who came out tonight. Appreciate you spending your evening with us, and look forward to continuing the good work. Thank you.